clara la preocupación del señor Kurt. Para el caso específico del canal.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go through the list of people who have asked to speak on racial profiling and so on. Refer to themselves as the ones who were complaining about this. But you are correct, it's a problem.
Tratamos de separar, no mezclar derechos.
What Nicola said about nuclear reporting platforms.
Yes, I session translation.
Exactly. Once you get the
Just say it,
I'm Anastasia Crickley. I'm Irish and I'm chair of the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. There are 18 of us, independent experts from all regions of the world. We obviously come from different countries, but we do not represent our country and we do not represent our region. We are part of the committee in order to monitor implementation of the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination by the 178 countries which have ratified it. This convention is one of the oldest conventions of the UN, came into place at the time of apartheid in South Africa in '65 and ratified by consensus in the General Assembly in 1969. And as I said already, the United States is one of the parties to it. We consider countries normally once every 4 years when they come before us for review, having provided us with a report on the progress they have made. We also hear, of course, from other voices within those countries, the civil society and the National Human Rights Institution voices, who give us their views on the progress made. And we draw then concluding observations for the countries on which they are encouraged, challenged, and supported to make progress towards the elimination of racial discrimination. We have an early warning urgent action procedure, and it was under this procedure that we were acting together and in consensus decided it was very important for us to consider, discuss and make a decision, which was made by consensus again, on the events that took place in Charleville last week. In effect, what we did as a group, and I think I need to say also that among our group there is one member who happens to come from the USA, but for the purposes of our discussions on that matter, she voluntarily absented herself, which is the way that we normally do business. And I might also, by way of indicating our independence and the independence of all of us who work for the elimination of various forms of discrimination and for human rights within the system, is that it is normally good practice that people from the country under consideration don't sit in for the consideration, or for the issue under consideration, don't sit in for that. Now, so what we discussed, last week we were part of a preliminary discussion and press release with the Working Group on People of African Descent and with the Special Rapporteur on Racism, where we expressed then our alarm at what had happened in Charlottesville and expressed our alarm actually at the racist connotations of what had happened. But we felt that as a collective group ourselves, acting as the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, we needed to discuss this. We needed to give it our consideration, and that's what we did. So we reached this decision, which has now been published, and in that decision we reiterated our alarm at what had happened in Charlottesville. We particularly reiterated our alarm at the white supremacist, neo-Nazi, right-wing overtones of the demonstrations that had taken place. We were particularly alarmed also by the way in which a number of terrible things had happened during that period. Of course, the death of Heather Hare, but also the terrible beating of Deanda Hughes and a number of other incidents that took place. And we felt very strongly that this needed to be condemned at the highest possible level. And to quote, because I think it's probably the easiest thing to do in these circumstances, we felt, I think, disturbed is the word that we used, by the failure at the highest political level in the USA to unequivocally condemn the racist, violent events and demonstrations by those right-wing, Nazi, neo-Nazi and white supremacist groups, which had, we felt, also the potential to fuel racist discourse, had the potential to have people feel that they had permission to be racist. We don't feel that permission should be available in any country in the globe. And we also felt that the lack of unequivocal condemnation of those events could lead to an assumption that perhaps there wasn't so much wrong with them. So it was on that basis that we, and as well as leading to an assumption that there wasn't so much wrong with them, could also maybe lead others to think that perhaps not only was there not so much wrong with them, but that they might be able to continue to behave in that way. We believe that it is very important for political leaders in the USA and in every country in the world, from the highest level, to unequivocally condemn racial discrimination and to unequivocally condemn hatred, racial hatred, and white supremacist activities where and when they take place. You cannot compare white supremacists and racial discrimination. You cannot compare activities which support those with activities that are concerned to protest against them. You cannot equivocate between them in our view. We're conscious, and I'm conscious, that the Governor of Virginia has very clearly issued a statement, and we commend the approach that he has taken. We're very conscious that there has been a move to a rapid prosecution, and as in all cases of that nature, we are concerned that justice is done. And beyond that, I think it's important for us to leave it to the justice institutions involved. But certainly, I think it's important for us to acknowledge the way in which the events there were actually commented on and the statements made by the Governor of the state, and also to note that a number of prosecutions have already been made. The way our decision works is we rely, I have to say, on our moral authority and on the fact that we are 18 people globally giving this our best consideration and our greatest understanding. And it's our hope that the US administration and politicians at every level will take what we have said seriously, and that it will resonate with the feelings of the people of the USA at the moment.